Putin was right at first. The Black Sea was Russia's domain, ruled by warships that projected power and fear. But now everything's changed. Ukraine has turned the tide by sinking Putin's navy for the price of a car. And it all comes down to one thing: drones. As of May 2025, Ukraine's unmanned weapon Ingenuity has allowed it to strike against Russia's Black Sea presence again and again. It's taken out ships left, right, and center. These include the warship that Russia used to invade Georgia, as Euromaidan Press points out. That ship is now destroyed, along with a couple dozen others that Ukraine has wrecked with its drones. Vessels designed to ferry troops around, be that into Ukraine or to Russian allies like Syria, are disabled. All told, 26 of the ships in the Black Sea Fleet are gone, amounting to a third of the entire fleet, and Russia has been forced to pull its vessels back. And now we're starting to see Ukraine assert its dominance in the Black Sea. Earlier in May, Ukraine became the first nation to ever take out a Russian combat plane using a drone. A Russian Su-30 lies in pieces because Ukraine's ingenious approach to the Black Sea opened up the way for it to send an unmanned vessel into the waterway. That vessel fired a missile. The missile hit the Su-30, and in seconds, over $100 million of Russian military engineering went up in smoke. Therein lies the rub. Putin has spent billions of dollars to reinforce his presence in the Black Sea. Each ship Ukraine sinks represents hundreds of millions of dollars down the drain. Now that Ukraine is also hitting fighter jets using its drones, the risk is even higher for Putin. For every multi-million-dollar piece of hardware he sends to the Black Sea, he risks massive losses due to unmanned vessels that cost the same amount as a high-end car. How on earth did Putin get here? To answer that question, we need to take you back in time to 2014. It was in that year that Putin first launched his campaign of aggression against Ukraine. It was something of a soft invasion. Rather than sending Russian troops into Ukraine to fight, Putin relied on stirring up pro-Russian paramilitary fighters in key regions, including Donetsk and Luhansk. Ukraine managed to repel the pro-Russian forces fighting in those key territories. However, its forces were distracted away from what may have been Putin's real target: Crimea. At the time, the vast majority of Ukraine's naval personnel were located in the Crimean Peninsula, with 12,000 of those 15,000 people located in the key port of Sevastopol. We say key port. For so long, Ukraine's navy had been underfunded to the point where Sevastopol was a shadow of the port it had been when it was under Soviet rule. Unfortunately for Ukraine, that lack of funding came back to bite it, as Crimea ended up being easy pickings for Putin. Russia annexed Crimea. In doing so, they snatched up 12 of the 17 ships Ukraine had stationed in Sevastopol, with all of the support vessels and missile boats Ukraine owned being snatched up too. To compound the misery, Putin's forces either destroyed or grounded the naval aircraft Ukraine had stationed in Crimea, in addition to taking over key infrastructure and destroying, capturing, or even turning Ukraine's marines to his side. Don't underestimate how important this annexation was to the full-blown invasion that began in February 2022. In one fell swoop, Putin took out 70% of Ukraine's navy and gained control over the Black Sea. From 2014 to 22, Putin rebuilt Sevastopol as Ukraine struggled to recover. Russia poured over $2.3 billion into the port, once again transforming it into the naval stronghold it once was. Warships came steaming into the port, with over 30 of them being accompanied by aerial assets and submarines to make up the bulk of Putin's emerging Black Sea fleet. By the time Russia launched its Ukraine invasion, Sevastopol alone was home to 25,000 Russian Navy personnel and 50 vessels, accounting for about 80% of the fleet Putin built. That fleet played a key part in Russia's early assaults against Ukraine. When Putin launched his invasion, it was the Black Sea Fleet that he used to create a naval blockade around Ukraine's ports. That was a major problem. Ukraine relied on the Black Sea as its main route for exporting grain, with that single product accounting for 40% of Ukraine's pre-war revenue. There's a reason why Ukraine is often referred to as the breadbasket of Europe. Around the world, 1 in every 20 people is fed by products made using Ukrainian grain. In less than a month, Ukraine found itself losing $27.8 billion in revenue from its various agricultural products. When you're in a war against a nation willing to spend around $300 million per day to fight you, losing such a massive revenue stream was always going to be damaging. Ukraine needed a solution, and it needed a solution fast. There was no way for Ukraine to battle back against the Black Sea Fleet with a traditional navy. It had lost most of its best warships when Putin annexed Crimea, and it was in no position to build more. Even if it was, the 8 years between the annexation and Russia's full-blown invasion wouldn't have been enough for Ukraine to build enough vessels to go ship to ship with Russia. And beyond time, Ukraine simply didn't have the money, a problem compounded by Russia's blockading of the Black Sea. It needed something smaller, cheaper, and more effective to battle back against the Black Sea Fleet. The summer of 2022 served as the turning point in the battle for the Black Sea. It was during that period that Ukrainian security service member, Brigadier General Ivan Lukashevich, put forward a proposal. Ditch the ships, he said. Ukraine should instead focus on building fast and uncrewed attack boats, capable of hitting Russia's warships at a fraction of the price. It was a revolutionary idea, and one on which Ukraine followed through. It started with ordinary motorboats. Already in Ukraine's navy, small patrol vessels and even ships provided by civilians were converted into devastating kamikaze drones by taking advantage of Starlink. Elon Musk's innovative high-bandwidth satellite internet tech was crucial to the whole thing. This ship conversion method wouldn't have been possible without it, as Ukraine's drone operators wouldn't have been able to control their new unmanned ships over such large distances without it. That first batch of ragtag drones served as a proof of concept. The cost to Ukraine of building them was minuscule, just $100,000 per ship compared to the millions of dollars per ship Russia was spending. The only problem was that none of these ships were custom-made to serve as drones. They could do the job, however, some weren't fast enough. Others weren't designed for maximum impact. Ukraine was basically transforming whatever it had into seaborne drones and hoping for the best. However, as we said, it had a proof of concept. It just needed to follow up on that proof with new designs. Enter two purpose-built drones, the Magura V5 and the Sea Baby. Now, Ukraine has unmanned vessels that could perform multiple functions in the Black Sea. Where the converted ships were being packed with explosives and used as kamikaze attack vessels, the Magura V5 and Sea Baby opened up surveillance, reconnaissance, search and rescue, and direct strike capabilities. By 2024, the tech Ukraine developed also allowed those drones to start firing missiles, as the Russian Su-30 found out earlier in May the following year, and even deploy their own aerial drones into a fight. Of course, the cost went up compared to the conversion of old patrol vessels into drones. Putin would have been happy about that, at least he might have been until he saw the figures. Each of this new wave of Ukrainian sea drones cost his enemy between $250,000 and $300,000 to build. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars less per unit than the expensive Storm Shadow and ATACMS missile systems Ukraine has previously used to attack Russian vessels in the Black Sea, and it left Putin with a problem. Ukraine was now in a position where it could generate a $200 return on every dollar it spent on its ever-growing horde of drones. But what makes these drones so special? Starting with the Magura V5, it's the product of Ukraine's main Directorate of Intelligence, signing contracts with several private companies in the country. By November 2022, those contracts had borne fruit through the development of a combat surface drone capable of traveling up to 500 miles. Almost a year later, Ukraine officially presented the boat at the International Defense Industry Fair in Turkey, which is when we truly found out what the Magura could do. The drone measures 18 feet long and about 4.9 feet wide, making it an incredibly small target for Russian defenses to hit. It's able to operate autonomously for up to 60 hours and can carry a 705-pound explosive payload that blows massive holes into any ship the Magura hits. Add all of that to the Magura's maximum speed of 48.4 miles per hour, and you get a drone that is a nightmare for Russia to handle. Oh, and it's far more than a powerful floating bomb. The Magura is loaded with a trio of cameras that allow it to send high-definition video feeds of what it sees back to its operators. Those cameras also enable operators to navigate the drone, though it has an inertial navigation system that keeps it on track when it's working autonomously. The drone is sleek, fast, and can be launched from practically any remote location, making it versatile enough to do practically anything that Ukraine requires of it. More recently, Ukraine has developed anti-air capabilities into the Magura, allowing it to fire missiles into the sky to take out helicopters and fighter jets. As for the Sea Baby, it's not quite as advanced as the Magura V5, but that doesn't mean it's any less terrifying. Costing around $240,000 to build, the Sea Baby was also officially introduced in 2023, though it was initially used almost exclusively as a kamikaze drone. That shouldn't come as a surprise. Ukraine can pack an explosive warhead weighing up to 1,873 pounds into the drone before sending it to travel up to 621 miles in search of a target. If that's all the Sea Baby could do, it would already be a terrifying weapon against Putin's Black Sea fleet. However, Ukraine never seems to rest on its laurels. By January 2024, Ukraine had built a flamethrower system into the drone that allows it to engage in naval battles without blowing itself up. Any Russian ships that had even a small amount of wood, such as the smaller patrol ships Putin sent into the Black Sea, became potential victims. Fast forward to March 2025, and the Sea Baby is now capable of carrying several RPG-16 thermobaric rockets, with various configurations capable of holding 2, 4, or 6 of these missiles, having been sighted. Failing that, Ukraine can also incorporate up to 6 of its 122mm Grad artillery rockets into the drone, again boosting its abilities as a seaborne fighting force. Other versions of the drone have also been seen with anti-air weapons, including a 14.5mm KPVT machine gun. Make no mistake about it, both drones are Russian ship-killing machines, and the devastating news for Putin is that Ukraine has proven it time and time again. Its initial Starlink drone vessels had already proven their value back in October 2022. That's when Ukraine struck the Black Sea Fleet's flagship, the Admiral Makarov, with one of its naval drones. Both a missile launch platform and Russia's main blockade runner, the Admiral Makarov, was a terrifying ship that had become the Black Sea Fleet's flagship after Ukraine sank the Moskva using missiles. In October, Russia sent the Makarov to Snake Island, which is close to Odessa. That's when Ukraine struck. Initial reports suggested that the ship was hit by a Ukrainian Neptune missile, similar to the one used to take out the Moskva. That was incorrect. As Euromaidan Press points out, it was a sea drone that did the damage, with a powerful explosion sending the Makarov up in flames. This happened before the Magura V5 and Sea Baby entered the Black Sea. Once development on those drones was finished, the entire Black Sea fleet was fair game. Both now have multiple ship kills under their belt. For the Magura V5, the first 2 of those kills came in November 2023, when Ukraine used the drone to destroy an Akula-class landing craft and a Cerna-class craft at a Russian naval base in Crimea. February 2024 brought with it the sinking of a missile corvette and a large landing ship. A month later, Magura drones sank a Russian patrol ship, with more Black Sea Fleet destruction following throughout 2024. By the end of 2024, Ukraine had adapted its Maguras to fire air-to-air missiles. A Russian MiL Mi-8 chopper was the first victim of this new version of the Magura, downed by an R-73 missile as it flew in western Crimea. It was also this adapted Magura V5 that took out the Su-30 we've already mentioned. Or did we say that the Magura has taken out 1 Su-30? We meant 3. Days after destroying the first of the Russian jets using R-73 missiles, Ukraine took out 2 more of them using AIM-9 Sidewinders. Both missiles are designed to be fired from fighter jets. Ukraine has figured out how to launch them from drones that cost about as much as a high-end car. The Sea Baby has had just as much of an impact in the Black Sea. July 2023 was its grand unveiling, with Ukraine using a pair of the drones to strike the Crimean Bridge, damaging an abutment and bridge span in the process. A couple of months later, Ukraine used a Sea Baby to scuttle the Samum corvette. Sea Baby drones also struck a Russian patrol ship and a reconnaissance vessel in the same year. 2024 was a quieter year for the Sea Baby than it was for the Magura. However, it's clear that Ukraine is figuring out new ways to use the drone. May 2024 saw footage emerge of a Sea Baby equipped with the same type of R-73 missile that a Magura V5 later used to take out several Russian aerial assets. And by the end of the year, 50-caliber guns had been mounted to some Sea Baby drones so they could take out Russia's patrol boats and even some of its helicopters from the Black Sea. And there's more. Ukraine's drones have also been key to Ukraine opening up the shipping routes it uses to export grain and other agricultural products. Once the Magura V5 and Sea Baby were up and running, Ukraine started using them to attack any Russian ships that entered Putin's own blockade. By August 2023, a month after Russia left the Black Sea Grain Initiative that had allowed Ukraine to resume exports, the drones had helped Ukraine develop its own humanitarian passage through the Black Sea. Ukraine didn't need Russia's approval to ship grain anymore. It made its own, and Putin was furious. As he should be. For the same amount of money it takes to buy a high-end car, Ukraine had built a pair of drones that wrecked multi-million-dollar ships, destroyed expensive aerial assets, and enabled Ukraine to start profiting from its agricultural industry once again. That latter benefit means that Ukraine's seaborne drones have returned billions of dollars to Ukraine for an outlay that's in the millions. Russia has responded, of course. It's now using sea drones to attack Ukraine, including the BBK-N Odivanchik, which is a kamikaze drone that can carry a 1,322-pound payload. Putin plans to use these drones to smash into Ukraine's coastal cities, though their utility is minimized by the fact that Russia controls much of Ukraine's south. Putin needs that kind of power in Ukraine's east and north. Both regions are landlocked. New drones won't help Russia there. Still, Putin is turning the Black Sea into a new front line with Russia's drones. He's had some success. Ukraine's sea drone success rate has plunged from 85% to 10% thanks to Putin increasing his country's Black Sea drone defenses. But Russia is still playing catch-up. Ukraine is already moving on to the next stage of sea drone development by introducing more autonomous features into its drones. It's doing this as Russia drafts laws that would ban the use of artificial intelligence altogether. The takeaway here is that Ukraine's sea drones will keep getting smarter as Russia limits its drones to be only as intelligent as their human operators. Plus, Ukraine isn't stopping at developing cheap surface drones. It's also bringing the Kronos to the Black Sea. A drone stealth submarine introduced in May 2024, Kronos uses stealth technology to make it invisible to radar and comes packed with torpedoes capable of hitting targets from 1.86 miles away. It can hit a maximum speed of 31 miles per hour when underwater, rising to 49.7 miles per hour when it surfaces, and it can plunge to a depth of around 820 feet. Ukraine can even pack 10 operators into the submarines. And that's just the start. The Toloka family of underwater drones is on its way, with the TLK-1000 being the standout. Capable of traveling up to 1,250 miles, which is more than enough to patrol the entire Black Sea, these powerful drones use sonar and hydrophones to track targets, which they can decimate with an 11,000-pound warhead. Putin thought he could control the Black Sea. Back in 2022, it was a reasonable assumption to make. Drones, though in use by both militaries, hadn't proven their full utility in a major war up to that point. They certainly hadn't showcased any extensive usefulness at sea, outside of countries sending airborne drones to dive bomb ships. But Ukraine flipped the Black Sea situation on its head. Its growing horde of drones, including the Magura V5, Sea Baby, and now its new underwater drones, are cheap, powerful, and can do something that Putin never saw coming: reclaim the Black Sea for Ukraine. But what do you think about Ukraine coming up with a way to destroy a Russian warship for the price of a car? Are the types of drones Ukraine is building the future of naval warfare? What other innovations do you think Ukraine will come up with next? Let us know your thoughts below, and remember to subscribe to The Military Show for more videos covering the latest and greatest Ukrainian military inventions.